Okay, so Leetcode practice time. Today we are going to deal with this problem called Subarray sum equals to k. So two goals. The first one is going to see how to solve this problem, so find the solution and we put some solid code there. And the other thing is to see how to behave during an interview given the specific question. So in interview, how to behave. Then let's get started. So in an interview, the first thing is to try to understand the problem, clarify whatever that is unclear to you, and also think about the edge cases potentially. So the first step, I would say, try to understand the problem, try to clarify the unclear part, and also try to think about some edge cases at the very beginning. So let's read this problem. So given an array of integers nums and the integer k, return the total number of continuous subarray whose sum equals to k. Okay, so example, nums, given the number array 111, k is equal to 2, so there are two subarrays. Of course, this piece and this piece. Okay, and example 2, given the nums, array 1 to 3, k is equal to 3, output is 2, that's because first subarray is 1, 2, the other one is 3. So in this problem, it seems like we definitely consider a single number to be a subarray. Alright, so there could be some constraints. So let's see if nums.length. Okay, so nums.length is between 1 to 20,000. Okay, so now the input array is definitely not empty, and each number could be between negative 1,000 to positive 1,000. And k is between what is that? 10 million minus 10 million to 10 million. Okay. So I think based on the constraints, it has already clarified those edge cases. So I was worried about what if the input array is empty, so something like that. But I think it seems like we don't need to worry about those kinds of edge cases. So let's step into the second part. After understanding the problem, the next step is always to think about solution, communicate with your interviewer what the solution is potentially in your mind. So for this one, usually we could start with the brute force solution, briefly give a description about the brute force solution first. So I would say a brute force solution which is pretty obvious is you could enumerate all the subarrays, try to summarize them, and see whether the sum is equal to k. So in this case, it's going to be n cubed because it's going to be n squared. There are going to be n squared subarrays, and we still, for each sum up for the subarray, it's going to take about all of n. So in total, it's n cubed for this brute force solution. So let's think about some more optimal solution. So I would say it seems to be a dynamic programming question to me. The thing would be like this. So we would do one pass for the input array, and during the time we keep the total of the subarray starting from the beginning to the current position we are iterating through within this input array. So, and at the same time we are going to keep a hash map. So the key of the hash map is type integer, value is also type integer, and the key is sum of subarray from 0 to I to the current index, and the value is how many is the number of subarrays that has the same total. So number of subarray that has the same total. So once we iterate, so once we encounter, let's say currently we are looking at nums I. Suppose there are subtotals for subarray before that could sum up to k minus nums I. Then that's pretty much how many subarrays that can subtotal to k from the position before to I. So I would say this one, it is going to be a linear approach because we are going to do one pass, and the space one, so time complexity is going to be linear. Let's say all of n is the length of the input array. Space-wise is also going to be linear because we need to have a hash map to store the subtotals. We should be good about this approach. After discussing the approach with your interviewer and get an agreement, it is a time for us to do some solid coding to try to turn our idea into solid code. So here we care about the correctness and the readability. Of course, the speed, we also care about speed, because if you cannot really finish the coding within the time limit, or you have some difficulty writing the code, then we assume that the coding ability is not enough. So let's see, for this one, first of all, as we said, we are going to define a hash map, and the key variables are integers. Let's say a readable name would be some index map. Let's say new hash map. Okay, so we are going to do one pass through this array, but before it, we need to put a placeholder to indicate when there is zero number. When there is zero number within the subarray, then the subtotal is 0, and we definitely will put a 1 there. So that's for the future computation. So I is equal to 0. We also need to define sum is equal to 0 at the very beginning. So I is equal to 0, I smaller than nums dot length plus plus I. So now sum plus equal to nums I. And if sum index map that contains key k minus sum, then it means there were previously there were subarrays that sum up to k minus sum. So what we are going to do is, okay, so we need to define something called count, initialize at 0, then count plus equal to sum index map dot get k minus sum. So then we need to update the sum index map to indicate that for the current sum of the subarray, we have another instance, and we have another subarray that can sum up into sum. Okay, so we are going to put sum index map dot get or default which is sum 0 plus, well, so plus 1. So this is a value actually. The key is going to be sum. And finally, we will return count. So after we are finished with coding, it's time for us to do some testing, the first one I would say use some test case, go through it manually. And the next thing is to set up some other test cases to cover different branches, try to get very good test coverage. So let's start with the input example with 1, 2, 3 and k as 3. So at the very beginning, some index map is equal to empty, and then we put a 0, 1 pair into this, and sum equal to 0, and the count is equal to 0. So when I is equal to 0, sum is equal to 1. So because the hash map doesn't contain a key as 2, then it's not going to jump into this if branch, and then we are going to have 1 and 1 inserted into this hash map. And then when I is equal to 2, so now the sum is equal to 3. So we definitely have a key at 0 there. So we are going to jump into this if branch and plus 1 there, which is this one. So and then when we encounter the 3, and also at the same time we need to update the sum index hash map as well, key as 3, value as 1. And then when I is equal to 2, the sum is equal to 6 now, and since there is a key with 3, which is 6 minus 3 here in this sum index map, then we need to put the corresponding value, we need to add the corresponding value on top of the count, so count is equal to 2, and finally we return count. So I think it should be good. Let's give it a shot. Okay, it's wrong answer. Why it is wrong answer? So let's say go through it. Let's say it is 1, 1, 1, and the input, suppose the input is 2 here. Okay, so when it is 1, 1, 1, at the very beginning we have 0 as a key, value as 1, and we have sum as 0 and the count as 0. So when I is equal to 0, sum plus equal to num 0 is, so sum is equal to 1 now, because it doesn't contain 1 as a key in this sum index map. Then we skip this if branch, and we directly put 1 here, a 1, 1 here. Okay, so then when sum is equal to 2, when sum is equal to, so when I is equal to 1, sum is equal to 2 because it's 1 plus 1. And then k is equal, since k is equal to 2, so 2 minus 2 is equal to 0. 0 is definitely in this sum index map. You're going to plus the count here, okay? And then we will put 2 into this map and the value set up as 1, okay? Okay, and then when I is equal to 2, which is the last number, sum is equal to 3 now, so we are trying to find k minus sum. Okay, it is 2 minus 3. So it is, okay, so sum is equal to 3 now. So when sum is equal to 3 now, since k is equal to 2, so we are trying to see whether it contains a minus 1. Okay, so that's where the bug is. So that's what the bug is essentially letting us know. So I would say okay. So so we should be trying to, okay, so we are trying to see if there is a minus 1 within which is definitely something wrong. So the current sum, so it should be, we should be looking at something, it should be something like, you look at whether there is something that is equal to sum minus k instead of k minus sum. Yes, so it should be definitely, we look at sum minus k. Okay. So if there is sum minus k, and then okay, so that's what I'm getting wrong. So we are looking at sum minus k within this map instead of k minus sum. Alright, so now we should be good. Let's do a submission. Okay, so it's accepted. So I made a stupid mistake. We are definitely looking at sum minus k in this map actually. So yeah, so that's it for this coding question. So I hope you find this video a bit helpful, and thanks for watching it. I'll see you next time.